all I can say is, wow, wow, wow. Hi, welcome to sunny Sydney. My name's Paul Rushworth-Brown, and I'm host of History Bards, Down Under Interviews in association with Meet the Author, Indie Book Source in the US. And I am here with a wonderful author today, Jeanne Gehret, who's written a fantastic book called Secrets to the Wind. Jeanne, congratulations on your novel, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Paul. It's so good to be here.
After all those technical issues.
Yes.
So
my favorite thing.
Yeah. Okay. So all I can say is, wow, wow, wow. Underground Railroad, romance, slavery, abolitionists. Is there anything this book doesn't have?
Well, it doesn't have open sex. I have to say that.
Okay. So just for those that don't know much about American history, give us a bit of a rundown on the Underground Railway and the abolitionist movement over in the US back at that time.
Okay, so we're talking about the middle of the 19th century. The Underground Railroad was our term for that secret network of people who helped a person continue to escape slavery.
Sometimes the past makes true love impossible, but you have to try. 1863. Daniel Anthony will stop at nothing to prevent slavery from gaining a foothold in the new state of Kansas, but after 6 years, he's ready to settle down and start a family. From Martha's Vineyard, heiress Annie Osborn falls deeper in love with the handsome, heroic Daniel as their letters fly across the continent. But her heart breaks when he fails to explain a chilling episode from his past. She's left battling a Southern sympathizer who witnessed her help an escaped slave. He'll only keep her secret in exchange for sexual favors from herself and her younger sister. How far must these star-crossed lovers go to protect the innocent? Against the treacherous realities of the Civil War, Annie and Daniel struggle with their pasts in search of a future together.
Right. And obviously there would have been consequences for those people, helping those people to escape, yeah? What were the consequences?
They were $1,000 fine, up to $1,000, and up to 6 months in jail.
Right. Okay. And that's a lot of money back then. There's a lot of sort of like real people that actually feature in this book. Susan B. Anthony. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown on who she was?
Sure. Susan was our suffragist. So she is the one, along with another woman named Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who led the campaign, a 50-year campaign to get women the right to vote and all of the accompanying rights with that.
Yeah.
So Susan was not only instrumental in getting women the right to vote, but she was also instrumental in getting slavery abolished, because she campaigned vigorously to get the laws changed.
Discover the extraordinary life of George Matcham, the man who dared to cross continents in an era of exploration and intrigue. Born in Bombay under the East India Company's watchful eye, George embarked on 3 monumental overland journeys between Asia and England. His adventures set the stage for a remarkable story, culminating in his marriage to the beloved sister of the future Lord Admiral Nelson. Through his intimate connections with Nelson and the enchanting Emma Hamilton, George's life is vividly brought to life with authentic period press clippings and eyewitness accounts. Dive into a most unsettled man for an unprecedented glimpse into the private life of an 18th century English gentleman, while experiencing the enduring love story of Nelson and Emma from a fresh and captivating perspective.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I've interviewed a number of authors, and for some reason that seems to be sort of like a continuing theme. This idea of the suffragettes and all that type of thing. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because women are coming into their own power, and we just revere this woman who gave everything.
Yeah, and she's actually depicted on one of the American notes over there, isn't she?
The American coins, yes.
Coins. Oh, the coins. Okay, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. So obviously, there's these real people that you're writing about, and there's also, I assume, fictional people. How did you balance that with sort of like historical accuracy?
That is really fun. I have a lot of sources that depicted Susan's brother, Daniel, and his simultaneous campaign against slavery. And I had both newspaper articles, many newspaper articles, because he was sort of like a flaming abolitionist. He was
Right.
all over the news. He was a what we call a jayhawker, which was a special term for guerrilla fighters against slavery on the Kansas-Missouri border. And he was also a colonel in the army during that time. So we have the story of Daniel, which is a very interesting story that's hardly been told. No one seems to know how they met.
Right.
So I picked a likely watering hole called Saratoga Springs, which is in upstate New York. And I knew that Annie was just about to have her coming out party when all hell broke loose and her family had financial problems. So my fun arrangement was for them both to go to this place and meet each other there. And it was a sort of a meat market. So, MEET market, where people went to find someone to love.
World of Plymouth, 1620, where Sarah, a courageous woman, embarks on an unforgiving journey in the New World. Amidst the treacherous unknown, she faces starvation, death, and the harsh realities of early colonial life. On the wings of the red-tailed hawk, masterfully weaves historical authenticity with an inspiring tale of resilience, as Sarah discovers her inner strength to survive against overwhelming odds. This award-winning novel, lauded for its evocative writing and powerful portrayal of women's triumphs in history, is a must-read for lovers of gripping historical fiction. Join Sarah on her harrowing yet empowering journey and witness the indomitable spirit that defines the true pioneers of America.
In 1541, under the shadow of a fractured England, Hester Vaughan faces an impossible fate. Haunted by guilt over her mother's death, she's desperate to save her family after her uncle's arrest for his Catholic faith throws them into destitution. A skilled herbalist, Hester travels to Henry VIII's court in a daring attempt to cure his infamous leg ulcers, only to become entangled in his dark desires. Forced to flee, Hester returns to Wales, where sinister pagan rituals and her uncle's thirst for power threaten her life. Amid secrets, sacrifices, and the brutal realities of Tudor politics, Hester encounters a young Lady Elizabeth, forging a bond that could one day change England's future.
Tell me about how you came up with their personalities and how you developed them.
Well, I have to confess that I use a wonderful tool called the Enneagram. And it gives us 9 personality types and their flaws and their strengths. And Daniel exactly fits one of them, which is kind of a bully and a protector, a real strong guy. And from what I knew of Annie, she was a person who liked to play a supporting role and take care of other people.
What for you was the hardest part of the story to write?
Wow, that's a tough one. I had to write a scene in which Annie was being threatened by a man in town. She's not anywhere near Daniel. Daniel's 1,500 miles away. And he has discovered that she has helped a freedom seeker, meaning a person who had been a slave.
You obviously did a lot of research on the Underground Railroad. What were some of the interesting or crazy things that you found out about?
So in Martha's Vineyard, the story of the man who escaped that I recorded in the book is a real story. And apparently the marshal in town kind of dilly-dallied about calling the mainland, and then he lost some records, and then he forgot to ask for the right form, and on and on. He delayed for several days until the man actually got off the island. So I think that kind of thing was rather common, and I find that tremendously inspiring as I think about, ordinary citizens who just would not put up with slavery.
In the sultry streets of colonial Singapore, an ominous visitor brings darkness and death. Harriet Gordon, now finding her footing as a teacher at a girls' school, grapples with the uncertainty in her relationship with Robert Curran. Recently back from a long stint in Kuala Lumpur, Curran's hopes for a long-awaited promotion are dashed when the post is handed to an old foe from Scotland Yard, deepening his frustration. The arrival of the colonial Foreign Secretary, Sir Henry Cunningham, stirs memories of one of Curran's most troubling unsolved cases. When a young girl mysteriously dies at a ball held in the Secretary's honor, Curran finds himself at odds with his new superior. Confiding his growing suspicions to Harriet, he is devastated when she inadvertently betrays his trust, placing his career in jeopardy. But with a second death shifting the investigation's course, Harriet and Curran must work together to bring justice to a grieving family and salvage their fragile bond before it's too late.
Who's going to read?
Well, I hope that in this time of turmoil in our world and in our country, that it will appeal to people who are looking for inspiration to do and to be more than maybe they ever have been before. It's time for people all over the world to step up and become leaders and become problem solvers. So for Annie, that captain's daughter, to marry an abolitionist had to cause some tension in that family. As far as Daniel was concerned, he risked life and limb. He was a guerrilla fighter, as I said. He would go into a town with a gun in each hand, gripping the horse with his knees. I called it Secrets to the Wind because Daniel wasn't necessarily trying to keep secrets, but his past became a secret. So she kind of led Daniel on because I think she was in love with love, and she saw him as a hero and did not know enough about the whole man. I have a gift for our listeners today, and that is the prequel to the book, which is a short story in which Annie meets Daniel for the very first time, but it's very quick because most of the story is about her going and helping that man escape from the swamp and get to freedom because he is a former slave. So if they go to my website, which is susanbanthonyfamily.com, and they subscribe for my newsletter, then they will get the free story, which is called Songbird in the Marsh.
Wonderful. Jeanne, I really want to thank you for coming on the show. And good luck with your book.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. You've been such a great host